The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn.
Why is it when it is of the utmost importance you can't think cogently, and instead you become despondent and think you're a failure or incompetent?
I had a client who worked directly with the Dalai Lama, a spiritual guru, a spiritual genius, a bright light in the world. And she came to me because she said, I cannot continue my work. I have no money. I can't even afford to pay my rent next month. What do I do?
Welcome to the Inside Forbes Council's podcast. Each episode shares transformative insights and advice from members of Forbes Councils, a group of invitation-only communities for successful executives and entrepreneurs. This is Inside Forbes Councils.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of the Inside Forbes Council's podcast. I'm your producer, Stephen Ganoza. Today, we have 3 members of the Forbes Coaches Council who are going to mess with our brains a little bit. We're going to cover a range of exercises and introspections that you can do to hone in your thinking, productivity, and ability to act under pressure, all while maintaining a balance in your life. In The Empire Strikes Back, at one point, Luke Skywalker laments that lifting his X-Wing fighter from the swamp is impossible. Jedi Master Yoda instructs him to unlearn what you have learned. Well, we don't have Yoda on the program today, but we do have John Hittler, a transformative business coach at Evoking Genius. John is going to walk us through why being able to unlearn skills is an asset in today's world.
John Hittler from Evoking Genius and a proud member of the Forbes Coaches Council. Hey, today I've got a question for you. How much genius do you think it takes to unlearn almost anything? Well, it's an odd question. Well, your mom tried to teach you good habits as a kid. Always say please and thank you, brush your teeth after every meal, get your homework done before you go outside and play. The list goes on. Well, over your life, you've learned great habits that keep you healthy, happy, productive, and successful. It's all part of moving from your mom's little kid to becoming a fully developed mammal. Well, now it's time as part of the 21st century to learn a new habit, and in order to do so, you need to unlearn the old one at the same time. Well, let's say you follow a routine in the morning. You get out of bed, you brush your teeth, you stumble to the kitchen to desperately seek out caffeine, you make your coffee. Well, you get the idea. There's a series of things you do in a semi-conscious state because it's habitual. Well, what if you wanted to shift 1, 2, or 3 aspects that are part of that routine? You need to shift the ingrained habits or patterns of behavior, right? Pretty simple. Well, now let's move to work. What happens when, not your choice, the company decides to uniformly shift to a new CRM software platform? I just mastered the old one. I like the old one. I knew how to manage it. I knew how to play on it. And now you're going to quote unquote upgrade? You've got no choice but to learn something new because of a company decision. Welcome to the 21st century. As futurist Alan Toffler said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Toffler said that a long time ago, how prophetic he was, because that's a skill in high demand these days because there's so much change. So here's the question you have to take on. How the heck do you unlearn something? I mean, we kind of know how to learn something. How do you unlearn? Well, by definition, habits are something you do automatically without thinking. They occur, for the most part, unconsciously. Think about brushing your teeth in the morning. You don't have a strategy or a plan. You just get up and the first thing you do is brush your teeth. Yep, because you do it kind of on autopilot. Well, normally habits are set off by an initial stimulus, which we call a trigger. and there's a chain of events that the trigger gets in motion. Once a trigger sets a chain in motion, it's difficult to stop it because habits are only semi-conscious. Well, your team implements a new software platform at work despite the fact that you're completely competent and comfortable with the old one. Or maybe your child brings home a parent-teacher tracking and communication system that's completely done online and it's brand new this year. Either way, you've got to learn and unlearn in order to move forward. Well, what you have to do technically, as quickly as possible, is make the old habit or action extinct. There's a whole robust theory about extinction that essentially says you need to make an action extinct before you can learn something new. You basically have to create space in your brain for the new learning to happen, which means you have to clear out or make extinct what you currently hold. In your case, you just want to log onto the software platform and work and use the CRM. And so you've got to let go of or make extinct the old CRM. Remember chemistry in high school? As far as I could figure, there were two ways to pass. You could stay after school 2 or 3 days a week or come in early and get extra help. You could study every night, really difficult, or you could find the smartest looking kid in class and volunteer to be their lab partner. Admit it, you probably had to make the same choice as I did. I went for the lab partner. Unlearning is similar in very many respects. I say we take the, quote, partner with the smart kid approach and get to the learning of the new stuff just like we did to pass chemistry. Here's the simple, ingenious approach in order to safely transform your old learning or habit really quickly. You simply flood or overwhelm the old action with the newly desired action or habit. Simple enough. Well, this approach works much like a full immersion learning approach for a foreign language. I mean, we learned it. What did we do? We practiced reading, writing. We had a language lab. We conjugated verbs. We did flashcards. There was only so much you could learn in a classroom. And then there were those kids that did a semester abroad in Barcelona. Well, if you live in Spain, you could fully immerse yourself, and you kind of had to, and flood your system with the new language rather than worrying about conjugating verbs at your desk in your dorm room. It's a bit daunting at first, the full immersion, but your improvement comes quickly since all of the learning exists as fresh and new. You move from rank beginner to minimally competent pretty quickly, and then progress to proficient simply because your focus all rests on the newly desired learning rather than trying to translate Spanish words into English and work that way. You simply start thinking and speaking in Spanish. Well, unlearning has already quietly become one of the most important and required skills in a rapidly changing marketplace. Just look back 10 years. Consider the apps, websites, and technologies today that simply didn't exist 10 years ago. No iPhones, there was those flip phones, no GPS, no Instagram, no Facebook, and yet all of these today seem commonplace and easy to maneuver. We handle all of it reasonably well until we don't, because something new comes along. Well, rather than focus on the unlearning of an app or website, simply design the new action you'd like to take its place. Take, for example, replacing coffee with green tea. With this approach of flooding your old routine with the newly designed action, the process overwhelms and makes extinct the making of coffee. You simply get there faster by dwelling on which tea choice you'd make. Do you like a little sugar with it, or honey, or do you like a little milk with your tea? There is no focus at all on coffee. You're not trying to translate the actions that make a successful cup of coffee into making a successful cup of tea. You just shift all your focus onto the tea. Well, the choice of where to focus your attention and energy simply affects the speed at which you'll grow, learn, relearn, and yes, unlearn almost anything. Flood your brain with what you want, and you'll get it quicker and with less effort, like passing chemistry or replacing coffee with tea. Until we meet again, John Hittler, all the best.
Are you a successful executive or entrepreneur with insights to share? Learn more about our invitation-only communities at ForbesCouncils.com. Forbes Councils members have the opportunity to collaborate with fellow business leaders to overcome challenges and create new opportunities. Members also have access to support benefits that help them save time and money, and a platform, Community Voice, on Forbes.com, through which they can amplify their voices and exchange ideas. See if you qualify at ForbesCouncils.com.
So if we can unlearn skills or habits by flooding our brain with new habits, could this strategy be used to help us perform better when things get tough? Abigail Wenner is President and CEO of Executive Consulting International. She's going to discuss how the brain functions in stressful situations and how you can train yourself to stay focused and act under pressure.
Have you ever wondered why at those moments when you're feeling overwhelmed and pressured to make a quick decision or complete a critical assignment you can't seem to focus? Or why is it when it is of the utmost importance you can't think cogently and instead you become despondent and think you're a failure or incompetent? The good news is you're not alone, and once you begin to understand the way in which your brain functions in relation to your thinking, your emotions, and feelings, you can learn to rewire your brain and utilize it in a superior way. And it really will produce unimaginable professional results, even under pressure. My name is Abigail Wenner, and I am the President and CEO of Executive Consulting International. And for over 15 years, I've been a certified executive coach, and before that, an investment banker. So I can personally relate to the high-stake challenges and pressures that my clients are facing. Having this firsthand knowledge has really helped me establish a rare rapport with my clients, and also has helped me formulate a very powerful coaching model for them to help them overcome their unrelenting time demands, stresses, and fears. I leverage neuroscience precepts with business acumen and leadership development tools. And this helps them develop a unique capacity to change their thinking and behavior. My senior executives develop the ability to see issues from new perspectives, and they become really proactive decision makers, which is essential in this day and age to keep pace with and excel the whirlwind of technological, economic, and environmental changes we're all dealing with. Even with all the new data, digital data at our fingertips, we're still not able to do more with less. But learning how to rewire your brain, you can accomplish everything you need to. And it is invigorating and exhilarating, and something I have witnessed over and over again with my clients throughout the years. Let me provide you with a few tips to help you also become conscious of the moments when you're about to spin out of control because you're facing some new challenge, and help you to learn how to redirect your brain's auto drive towards positive outcomes, and not to shut down at those moments because you're feeling overwhelmed, or to reach for some new digital tool to distract you from the issue at hand. So the first would be to breathe. When you begin to feel overwhelmed and or you have that tug to reach for your smartphone, begin to breathe. Breathe in for a count of 4 through your nose, hold for a count of 6, and then slowly breathe out through your mouth for a count of 4. The goal is not office yoga. It's meant to disrupt the automatic, unthinking impulse to disconnect or reach for some distraction when you're under pressure. The breathing merely calms your nervous system and helps you to focus on your work. The second is to develop a better capacity to focus. According to Georgetown University professor Cal Newport, he describes ways to combat the negative effects of shutting down or depending on digital data to basically rescue us from our brain's pull to disconnect when confronted with difficult decisions. He writes, to produce at your peak level, you need to work for extended periods with full concentration on a single task, free from distraction. To do this, basically you need to rewire your brain. You need to follow a schedule to focus better. Take 20 to 30 minutes of deep, unbroken work. Don't do anything else but your work. And then follow that by a 5 to 10 minute break. You can get up, you can check your email, you can get something to eat. Over time, you'll notice that it gets easier and easier to ignore the impulse to divert your attention away from your task at hand if you're either overwhelmed or want a smartphone distraction. It's odd, but then your brain develops the desire and feels more pleasure by retaining its focus and concentration. And you're able to make a better decision and find new strategies. Remember, your brain's a muscle and you just need to build it up. The third is picture success. Picture a time when you've been in perfect sync with your task, when you were engrossed with your work and produced high quality output, untouched by distraction or feelings of ineptitude. Make sure there is no phone in this image. Repeatedly recreate this image and it will help you to initiate a transition into a high quality and sustainable focus on your work, even in moments where you previously were distracted. Let me finish by saying that helping my clients learn how to rewire their brains so they have the capability to overcome those moments of overwhelm or not to be distracted by their cell phone and instead using all these new digital formats to help them do what they're intended to do more with less.
We probably could all benefit from a little more discipline when it comes to focus, but too much focus? That might not be a good thing either. Linda Zander is a success coach at Supersize Success. She's going to discuss how you can find balance as an entrepreneur, primarily by understanding the true definition of success.
How to achieve sustainable success and positive impact in the world. Hi there, this is Linda Zander, 30-year plus serial entrepreneur and founder and CEO of SupersizeSuccess.com. I founded the company in order to help deliver a model of success that and definition of success that has not ever been applied before. In one in which has personally worked in my own lives and the countless lives of many who have worked directly with me or in association with my works. The number one way to achieve sustainable success and positive impact in the world is to understand the true definition of success, which is a balanced achievement of wealth and well-being through consistently living the truth of one's grace-inspired values. This is very important that people understand the definition of success and how it applies to the whole person. One of the things that I have seen in my 30 plus years as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as well trained as a marriage and family counselor as well, working with people from Wall Street to gangs and inmates, is that there is no understanding, or there has been no universal definition of success that is one that is holistic and takes the whole person into account. So what you see, number one, people don't identify their core values. How can they live the truth of their values? They don't even know what they are. How can they recognize when their values are being diluted or in jeopardy of being denigrated and make poor choices? What happens when someone does not understand their values? They don't understand the truth of who they are, and they're not able to create the kind of success that will make them happy. But the definition goes further than identifying your values. It's in the understanding that the definition of success is a balanced achievement of wealth and well-being. So I see people from Wall Street, from prison inmates to everyday mom and pops, only focusing on one area of their lives. I want to make a lot of money, or I want to be a person of service, putting all their eggs in one basket. So, for example, I worked with a very successful Wall Street executive who was extremely wealthy. He devoted his entire life towards creating a great amount of wealth so that he could provide for his family. And at the end of his career, he came to me and he felt emotionally, spiritually, and physically bankrupt. He had a lot of money, and he was able to pass a lot of money in trust to his children. But at the end of his, towards the end of his career here, he was feeling like a failure because he did not have physical health. He did not have joy in his life. He did not have a faith. He felt emotionally and spiritually bankrupt. On the other hand, so there's an example of someone who put all their eggs in one basket and said, my definition is about creating great wealth. Okay. On the other end of the spectrum, I had a client who worked directly with the Dalai Lama, a spiritual guru, a spiritual genius, a bright light in the world. And she came to me because she said, I cannot continue my work. I have no money. I can't even afford to pay my rent next month. What do I do? And I explained to her, the definition of success is the balanced achievement of wealth and well-being. And some of her focus and energy needed to go towards earning an income and asking for her clients to be able to pay her, for her services, and to also, continue to do her service in the world. And I explained to her that in order for her to make the kind of positive impact that she wants in the world, and she has already made a huge impact, is that she will need to be able to have the resources to do it. So these are two examples of, extremely successful people only in one aspect in their life that could not sustain wealth, an achievement of wealth and well-being, because they were not focused on becoming transformed and evolved at every level of their being. So this is what I teach people. And how do you achieve this? One of the first things that takeaways is to understand that sustainable success is achieved through taking into account your whole person: physical, mental, spiritual, financial. There's the 4 cornerstones, the foundation of success, and to develop habits that nourish each aspect of those in yourself. Secondly, is to develop a multiple income stream strategy and keep a strong cash position. That way you are able to have a strong cash position when opportunities arise or when challenges arise, and also to have a diverse, income strategy where you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. This will allow people to be able to have the longevity that they want over the long haul, to continue their work in the world, to continue to grow their own wealth, to continue to grow their well-being and those of other people. Also, very important is not to ever sacrifice your values or lower your standards. Not to be tempted to do that in the face of adversity, in the face of opportunity. Oftentimes I have seen when someone's tempted with something that looks too good to be true, or I can't afford to pass this up. Don't ever take an action out of fear. It is the biggest risk you will ever take. Any short-term gain from that will convert into possible permanent failure. You can lose your wealth, your well-being, your life, or your reputation forever. You will not be able to create the kind of impact and legacy that you want to achieve in the world. Lastly is, being of service. All of us coaches do this not only to be successful, but because we have a burning desire to make a positive impact in the world. And we need to always remember that regardless of how busy we are, to stop and be of service. Reach out your hand to those in need. Be of service to your fellow. It's not all about profit. It's about prioritizing people over profit. And in doing so, you do create your own sustainable wealth and well-being. Service keeps one humble, keeps one's mind open into perceiving and achieving new ideas and innovations. That's very important. Lastly, never to stop growing ourselves. In order to grow one's wealth and well-being and impact in the world, one must be dedicated to continuously evolving oneself along all those four cornerstones: spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially.
Well, that's certainly a lot of food for thought on how we think. This week, think about if there are certain skills you need to unlearn in order to progress in your career. Evaluate how you think and act when you're under pressure. And take a step back and make sure that you are maintaining balance while striving for career success. I want to thank John Hittler, Abigail Wenner, Linda Zander, and Master Yoda for their insights. We'll see you on the next episode.
This has been Inside Forbes Councils. Please be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a member of the Forbes Councils and would like to participate in our podcast series, please email your member concierge. If you're interested in joining a Forbes Council, learn more at forbescouncils.com.